Are you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob? I mean, some of you might be like,
continue.
Why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's sensitive.
You are listening to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really end. We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we don't want got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Sabatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. I'm asking you to step out of your masculine energy into your feminine energy. Oh.
Oh, I've been heavy in it this week.
All right. We're going to do this.
Okay.
We're just going to go.
Okay.
Welcome to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. This literally came about as of yesterday.
Like 24 hours ago.
We shouldn't say that because it has been manifested and the seeds have been planted probably since I started the podcast to have you on.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have been wanting Sarah to come on and share her story and her journey and all of these things for over a year now. But it was yesterday that she had messaged me about the gym equipment and I could come into town like, well, I was actually going to be recording a podcast from there unless you want to hop behind the mic. And here she is.
I've been resisting this literally since you started this podcast. And I'm like, oh, damn it, I'm so busy. I'm always so busy. I have all these excuses why I wouldn't want to talk about myself. And then this weekend was like totally free. And so, yeah. And Tami is like, hey, wink, wink. If you're available and you're coming into town anyway, why don't you stop by?
How convenient that you're already going to be here. You want those weights? Guess what? You're recording a podcast.
She's holding me hostage.
It was in the
Please
fine
help.
print. It was in the fine print. You didn't read that fully.
Right.
But I love that. And I love when episodes like this come together like that, because I was just going to record a solo episode from the gym and kind of share what the last 2 weeks have been like, because obviously I opened a gym and my whole life has completely changed in 2 weeks. And obviously the listeners have kind of been a part of this journey. So I wanted to give a little update. So I was going to just do that. I'm like, well, shoot.
You can still do that.
Oh,
It'll just be a different time.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was absolutely going to seize the opportunity that you were in town. So here you are.
Well,
And
thank
here
you
we
for
are.
having me. Thank you for, well, you've been pushing me to do it for a while. So you're welcome.
Yes.
No, just
well,
kidding.
and mention the synchronicity of last week at work.
Yeah. I actually was in California all last week at our headquarters for a company and got invited to do a pretty significant presentation in front of quite a few people on Thursday. And it was an honor to get invited to present to some of our leadership and colleagues and whatnot. And so I spent multiple weeks getting ready for that. I'm a planner. I prepare, and it was a big deal. And so then when this came about literally 24 hours ago, I'm like, how crazy is that? That on Thursday, I was standing on a stage presenting in front of a room full of people in my professional world. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, representing my personal life, it's interesting, right? How those things develop. How the universe is like, hey, that's awesome that you showed up in that space. But what about showing up for yourself and for other people and showing up in this space in a way that is not prepared, not planned, not sketched out? I told Tami when I got here, I'm like, what is the plan? What is the outline here? What are we going to talk about? And she's like, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle this.
I freaking love it. Oh, these are my favorite, where we literally have no idea where it's going to go, but I know it's going to be magic because of the way it all came together. Like that just doesn't happen. Right. I mean, I've had guests where it's like we've had to reschedule and this and that. And then whenever it does happen, it was always divine timing. And so the way that this literally came about was just like, okay, I'm going to trust that whatever comes out today is absolutely what needs to come out. So.
And I've been in a space of taking each next step forward when they're presented to me. And so I was like, okay, there's really no reason. You don't have any excuses left. You don't have anything. Like, why would you not just go ahead and do it? Right. And so I'm like, this is the next step. This is another little step forward. And every little step is progress in the journey of self-healing and self-discovery. And so here we are. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk.
Well, it is so important for people to hear that, to just say yes.
Just say yes.
Just say yes to things that come your way, to new opportunities. And oddly enough, I just shared this story because before you came over, like, I just needed to go for a quick little run, which was really odd because Sundays are always a rest day for me. And I have honored that for years now. It never used to be the case. I would always felt like I needed to exercise every day of the week. But I've really honored that. But for some reason, I'm like, I don't know why. I just felt like I needed to go for a run. And I did a 5K yesterday, which I haven't run a race since 2011.
Like a race.
5K.
Not just you ran a 5K, you were in a race.
I was in a race. Yeah, like a town 5K event. And I haven't run in months because I had this stupid turf toe thing.
Yeah.
So like, we'll see how this goes. And I did it. I survived, whatever. So today, it would have made total sense to just let my body rest. But it wasn't about anything physical. I was just like, I don't know why. My soul was calling me to go for that run. And I get out there, and up ahead, I see this person with 2 bags, and they were stopping at every like telephone pole just to get a little bit of shade and setting the bags down. And I saw that happen a couple times. And as I got up to him, it was like this little tiny man who's probably maybe early 70s. And he went to Menards. He goes for a walk 4 miles a day, and just happened to walk to Menards this morning and thought, I'm going to go get some things, not realize
from Menards
that he had to carry it all back, and that what he had was heavy.
And it's really hot out.
And it was really hot out. It was like already 88 degrees. So I was like, can I help you carry these? And it was just right then in that moment, like, this is why I was supposed to run. Because it didn't feel like I needed to physically or even energetically. I just needed to go for a run. I didn't know why.
There was somebody who needed you.
I know. It was wild.
That is crazy because Sunday is your like protected day.
Yeah. I don't want to do shit on Sundays except edit the podcast. Like, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to. That's my day.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was so clear. And he's like, I don't want to interrupt your run. I'm like, apparently I was supposed to be helping you because this is normally my rest day. So will you please let me complete my mission?
If you don't let me help you, I'm going to need to do something else. And that's going to be a problem. And but if you just let yourself follow your intuition and what is calling you in any given moment, the world opens up.
Truly. And that's how we met. Was you somehow found me on social media, right?
Yeah. I think I stalked you for a couple of years before I reached out. Total creeper. A friend of mine had worked with you and I started following your page. And I think I finally had reached out to you. And it was an inkling I had around where you were going at the time was much more into the childhood stuff. You had been doing the nutrition, and I had been following you because, way to nutrition is a part of my journey, right? I have gained and lost the same 30 pounds at least 20 times, like every 6 months over the course of my whole life. 6 months gaining, 6 months losing, right? I'm a professional weight gainer and weight loser. I know exactly how to do it. I know how to count the macros. I know exactly what programs I need to get in the gym in order to take it off, right? And I got to a point where through watching your stories, I was like, there has got to be something more to this. It's not discipline. It is not that I'm not strong enough to be able to manage this. There's got to be something deeper. And you were just starting to venture into that realm. And so I think I had reached out to sign up for your next round of, I don't know what it was called.
Nutrition for the Soul.
Nutrition for the Soul. And I think that was your first combination of where you were venturing into inner child stuff and whatnot. And so I was like, I don't know if this is right, but something is telling me that there's a piece here, a thread that I need to pull. And so I was like, it's scary and I don't know what this is, but I'm going to step forward. I'm going to pull the thread and we'll see. Right. And here we are. I don't know how many years later.
That was 2023. That was right when I moved in here.
Really?
Yeah.
It feels like it was like a lifetime ago.
I know.
So much has,
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was interesting because I had run that program. So I think I ended that in like 2022. I'm like, I should run it again. I should, right? I was shooting on myself, even though something about it didn't feel quite right. And so I remember when you reached out, I even said to you, I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to run this again. You're like, I don't care. I'm signing up for it. I was like, okay. Okay.
You're committed.
Yeah, she was. Well, so then we just kind of got started one-on-one with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would send her the modules and stuff like that. And it was very interesting because I remember feeling like somewhere in me, I knew that I wasn't like
Wasn't gonna do
it
it?
was meant to be a one-on-one kind of experience with you versus that
Mhm.
program. And so it was just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was wild how all that came about. So yeah, we got to know each other through that and
Mhm.
holy healing sessions and learning about her childhood. And I mean, you're incredibly intuitive, incredibly aware. And you're one of those people like on paper, you've got your shit together and
Oh.
yeah. But then here are these really sensitive wounds and this little girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I had any idea what I was venturing into
No.
when I reached out to Tami, FYI, be forewarned. But all of it was absolutely exactly where I needed to be and where I needed to go. And I'm so grateful I followed that like inkling to reach out to you because it has really the past couple of years have been instrumental in my journey. It's like you're sleeping for a really long time and then all of a sudden you wake up
Truly.
and you can't unsee the things that all of a sudden you see and you learn about in yourself. And not only in yourself, but then when you see these things, you see them in everybody else too.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you can be like, oh, that's not my shit. That's actually your shit. And you don't have to say it to them like that. I've done that. I've practiced that. It doesn't go over so well.
No, that's a you thing.
But you can see it so much more clearly and see how different dynamics are shaping and how people work off each other and it's fascinating.
It is.
And so, yeah, moving forward is just, you can't go backwards,
No,
but it takes a lot of work.
it takes a lot of work, but it's beautiful work. It's hard work. It's rewarding work.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can see it not just in yourself, but how that has started to trickle into other people in your life, whether it's your kids or other people in your family or just, it's pretty incredible stuff.
Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
My family?
Let's go there.
Let's go there. I am married. We have 2 boys who are 9 and 11. They're amazing. I have 2 stepchildren who are grown, 24 and 26. I mean, I know I barely look old enough to have children of that age, but they're amazing also. I grew up in South Central Wisconsin, farm family, I mean, that was common here, right? I don't want to age myself, but in the 80s and 90s, that was very common. I know we have very similar backgrounds in that way. 2 girls in my family. I was the older, and it's a certain lifestyle. And my parents, not only did we have a farm, but they both worked full time at UW, University of Wisconsin. And so it was just very much a lifestyle that is very rigid. And it is about taking care of your family and showing up and proving your worth and being productive. And that's what comes first. Yeah. And so it's certainly amazing. There are parts of it that I wish I could give my own kids that are unbelievable way to grow up, but it's also very difficult in terms of the dynamics that exist. And especially as the oldest daughter, having to take responsibility for a lot of things, right? And so many of those skills that I learned are what have gotten me to where I am today, right? I don't get one without the other. Right. And so I'm grateful for all of those things, but there's certainly a lot of things I had to learn about myself that came out of that way of growing up and the dynamic we had within my family. I wouldn't put any of it back, but it has taken a lot of soul searching and really sitting in, moving out of headspace into heart space. Right? Which is
a journey in itself.
There could be
it's like it's just a short little distance, but apparently it's not.
Yeah. There can be a whole episode just about that.
For real.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have a younger sister. She's 5 years younger than me. We should get into Colleen's story at some point, right? I don't know if this is the right time to do that. But
I was wondering if you wanted to go there, but it's a beautiful story. Yeah.
So Colleen was on that podcast, early on.
It was early. It would
have been a year ago.
Yeah, it was actually a year ago, a month or so ago. I'll link it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I met Colleen on our Sedona trip, which I'm sure we will dive into in more detail. But Colleen had lost a baby and was very raw. It had just happened when we were in Sedona. It was very raw. She was so brave to come and share about everything. And through her sharing of her story, and on our hike the next day, I came to the realization and just a memory that like my parents had a child between me and my sister. We're 5 years apart. There had been another baby girl who had been born and hadn't survived due to heart conditions, which is what Colleen's baby had passed from, which was craziness. But I hadn't thought about it probably a decade. It wasn't something that had crossed my mind. My family does not talk about emotions. That's just not how we were raised, right? So if there's any hard things like that, it's not discussed.
Right.
And so I knew this because there was a little picture of a baby on my mom's dresser. And I had asked, who's this baby, right? And she had said this was who this was. And so Colleen's story had triggered on our hike the fact that this had happened. And I would have been 2 or 3 at the time. And it was so powerful. We were thinking through what are the circumstances around your life in any particular given time, even 0 to 5 years old. What are the circumstances that are happening around you? And what is the dynamic of that? Because even that can impact, right?
Absolutely.
Your nervous system and how you develop and whatnot. And the fact that my parents had this horribly tragic thing happen and the dynamics of what that must have been like at the time and the heartbreak as a mother, I can't even comprehend that.
No.
And so to really sit and think with the fact that this had happened and I had been in this space and been there when it was occurring and what that was like afterwards. And then even my sister coming along as a mother thinking through if this had occurred to me.
Right.
And then I got pregnant again.
The
energy and the anxiety of what if, right? And being so protective and having that be there too. And then thinking through my younger sister and everything, like it was just a really, really powerful connection that Colleen, being brave enough to tell her story, made for me that I could acknowledge and I could process and I could try to understand to at least tell a part of my origin story at a time when I can't remember. I have no idea.
Right.
But it was such a powerful part of that particular event in Sedona.
Right. So even though you may not have any actual memories of that happening, when you can think back, what would that have been like as a mother? And I'm thinking as a mother, if that were happened to me, like how emotionally just sad, withdrawn, how do you even process that? And there's not a lot of support then either.
No.
So you learn to shove it down. Well, then you learn to walk on eggshells and you learn that, maybe mom isn't always emotionally available. Like, why is she sad today? I don't know. Did I do something wrong?
Sure.
You start to internalize that because there isn't those conversations. Like, you know what? Mommy's having a really hard day because of the sad thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't those conversations.
No.
And so our ego starts to tell us these stories. And you start to be like, well, I would better be the perfect kid then because I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to make anyone sad.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But it's just so much can happen in those very, very, very early years, even if it didn't happen directly to you.
Right.
And you can start to see how that plays out in your adult life. And you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
But you really have to be open to navigating and thinking through and searching and really sitting in every part of the story.
Yep.
Right? You can't just look at the big parts and the parts that are easy to remember and the parts that had this impact on me. There's so many pieces and parts to the story that you don't know until you start to peel back the layers.
Yeah.
And you peel back one and you're like, oh, I'm all better. You're like, that was fun, Tami. Thank you so much. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. Now this other thing happens. And then the second time I was with you in Sedona, like I was helping to co-host and like, I wasn't even there for the journey part of the experience, right? I was there to cook food.
Which she did an amazing job about, by the way.
I was there to co-host so that Tami and Zoe could do what they do best. But I went on the hike with everybody and was engaged with everything and experienced as much impact on the second time, not even trying, because it was all much deeper stuff that I would never have been able to get to until I'd gone through the first 2 years of our work together. I think one of the parts of not one of the parts, the part the part of the hike that I definitely would not have been able to access earlier was around when my paternal grandmother had passed. I was in elementary school. And I still don't know what happened. But when my grandfather passed, the family parted ways. My father parted ways with his mother, with several of his siblings. And that grandmother was no longer part of my life after that. And I've heard bits and pieces, right? And it doesn't matter. I'm sure he was doing whatever at the time he felt was the best to protect his girls. He's very protective. And so in his mind, that was the best way to handle that. But from my, I don't know, elementary aged self, it was very much, thinking back, it was very much, if dad gets upset with somebody, they go away, right?
Ooh.
Like they're just no longer there. If he got mad at me, what does that mean for me?
Right. You're cut off. You're done.
That absolutely is not an accurate thing to think, right? But in the mind of a child, this is what I'm experiencing without any vocalization around what's happening. All I know is my grandmother is just no longer part of my life. And it, I think subconsciously created another dynamic where whatever I can do to make sure that he's not upset with me, or you know, that couldn't happen to me, right? It's a primal need for a child, is to make sure you're loved and safe and all the things. And so that was something that came out on the second hike that was just like, holy cow, right? But again, I couldn't have accessed that sooner than that.
Well, even looking at how that now plays out in your adult life at work, like, I got to keep achieving. I got to keep doing, I got to keep everyone happy. I will exhaust myself to the extreme at whatever cost, so I can keep everyone happy, keep all of this functioning and moving along, because what happens if it's gone?
Yeah. I have learned adaptation habits over the years that was all the people pleasing, was all of the high performing, very much perfectionist approach to everything. Everything is black and white. There's one right way to do something, which my family will make fun of me a lot about, but it was always striving for external validation, external worth. I didn't even realize that there was a different way to go about that until I was in my late 30s.
From within? What?
I mean, it was, and I was also very naive, right? I grew up in a very small community. I was very sheltered, did not have exposure to much of anything. I mean, we're working on the farm, we're going to school all the time. My husband will make fun of me. He's like, have you seen any movies from the 1980s? And I'm like, not really, no. Very sheltered. And so it was, my view of people and of the world was very narrow. Again, served me decently well for various reasons, but also kept me very naive to how everything works. And so it was always like, this is the next step of your life. This is what you do next. This is what you should be doing next. And obviously my parents have always wanted what is best for me. They wanted success for me, never forced me into anything. I always chose what I wanted to do, but it was always under the pretense of, what do I want to do? Well, what's next, right? This is the ladder that you take in life.
Well, and who's defining what success means, what it looks like, what it feels like, right? If it's their definition of success, a lot of times that's a paycheck. How much am I earning? And that's how successful I'm going to be.
Very much so. And I will say they grew up in a time where there wasn't a lot, right? And so they know what they know, and they learned what they learned, and they had their own journey. And money was very much a part of the discussion all the time. Not discussion. There wasn't discussion. What? A part of the scene, and making sure there was enough money. And so for me, obviously, the more money I can make, the safer I am, and the more validated I am. And so what can I do on that journey to make sure that happens? Because that's, I guess, what's expected of me, right? And so very little, not little, almost no sense of self. And so I followed the journey. I followed the graduate high school, go get your bachelor's degree, go get your master's degree. Married the first guy I was in a real relationship with, had no business doing so, but the first
checklist,
follow the checklist. And the first time there was, male affection, I was like, oh, this feels really good, right?
Well, yeah. again, going back to stuff with dad, like it makes sense, plays out in your adult relationships.
And my friends from high school sweethearts, my closest friends all got married, right? And so I'm like, okay, this is what's next. And I would say my first real intuition, my first real hit over the head came when I realized I was in a marriage that like was not for me.
Yeah.
And there wasn't necessarily a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like something happened. I had been married for about 4 years, and it was just immediately obvious to me one day, what have I done? And it was just this very poor feeling. And I'm like, there was no way to ignore it. It was like literally a light switch where I was just like, oh my gosh, I am in this situation I do not want to be in. And I've made every choice to put myself here, but like, I cannot move forward in this way.
Yeah.
And at that point, I completely dissociated with myself. All emotion was gone about it. It was just a very black and white, like, no, I can't be married to this person. And I took the steps to undo it, but I could not answer the question for him. What happened? What is going on? I'm like, I literally don't know. I just know in my soul, this is not right.
Yeah.
And I can't keep doing it.
Well, and that's huge for someone who would traditionally follow the rules and not veer out of that at all and people please because, man, what would people think? I'm going to disappoint my parents or whoever. We'll stay in situations like that. Literally for those reasons, even though you know in your soul, like you said, there was such a clear knowing that I needed to be done.
Wow. And to think about how that download would have had to come through in a way for me to actually like hear it in a way and then hear it so much so that I could action on it and be willing to follow it. It's not only just hearing it and receiving it and being like, oh, maybe this doesn't feel right. We should probably fix it. It was so definitive. It was not optional. And so I shut off any emotion attached to it subconsciously, like it wasn't a choice. And I'm like, I have to do this. And I had never done anything in my life that was remotely not the right thing. And so I proceeded to undo that. And I found out after I initiated that there was a whole bunch of things that I didn't know had happened that were very clear,
validating,
very clear indications that why didn't anybody tell me this stuff beforehand, right? But it didn't matter at that point, but it was absolutely for the best. I was grateful afterwards that we didn't have any children together and we could split ways and I could, proceed with learning more about myself. And I got into a relationship very quickly after that, which was not intentional, with my now husband. We've been together for 16 years and have an amazing family. But it's interesting how you find your partner with qualities that are the ones that you don't possess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's why they say opposites attract. It's because you are naturally attracted to the people who have the qualities that you don't have. And so you see those qualities in them and you're like, wow, look at that. That's amazing. I wish I had more of that. Right? And you are drawn to them because of that, because they aren't exactly like you. How boring would it be to be with somebody exactly like you? Right? And so my husband, BJ, is very much the opposite of me. And we can have a whole podcast just about relationship dynamics.
Someday he'll be on here. We've talked about that too. He's got a story too.
Oh, he has so many stories.
He's got a lot of stories.
But I will say that we came together in a way that it was, looking back on it now, probably not the healthiest way, right? I was very codependent. I didn't know what that word meant. I didn't know anything about what that looked like. But looking back, I can be like, oh, not great. And he grew up in a Lebanese family, surrounded by a lot of women who fawned all over him and is very boisterous and likes a lot of attention versus I'm very introverted and quiet. And we fit together very well. And we've always fit together very well. But now we've both done a lot of work to understand maybe why when we came together, it was such this immediate attraction and fit. And I believe we're very much soulmates. And we've worked through a lot of really tough stuff together. But we are in a chapter now where, because we're both working through this stuff, we're like in version 2.0 and we're navigating like, how are we moving forward and how are we reconnecting now that we're no longer those people? Right. And we can see now and we can have the communication now. So,
which is huge because a lot of people don't make it through that phase. You're not growing together. But if you can do that work, like, hey, we're committed to doing this. We're not the same people, But let's work through these things. Why we trigger each other? How can we learn to communicate through those things and sit with understanding and compassion and reflection and all of these things? Like, you guys are willing and able to do that. And it's helped you get to 2.0.
Well, we're not there yet. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever be there, but it's a journey for sure. And I will say for myself, I've, over the past couple of years, found my voice.
Yes.
In a way that
I have listened.
In a way where I'm willing to speak. I mean, that comes with a whole bunch of steps before it, right?
It does.
It's not just finding your voice one day.
Right.
It's not like you lost it and you found it and you're like, oh,
okay.
Like, what do you want, right? When somebody asks a woman, what do you want?
Ooh.
What do you want, Tami? This is just from general observation, but I don't think a lot of women could answer that.
No.
What do you want? I mean, it's like the Notebook scene, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what? So she's like, it's not that simple. I think literally a lot of women wouldn't be able to answer that question. I couldn't answer that question.
I couldn't years ago.
And so it is a matter of finding your self-worth and turning from an external validation and learning an internal validation.
Right.
And I think a lot of women have completely lost the connection to their own intuition. And so a lot of the past few years for me in finding my voice have had to first be, who am I?
Right.
Reconnecting with little Sarah and reconnecting with who I am internally as a person and removing all of this external, all the adaptations, all the learned behaviors, all of the everything, and really getting out of your head, which is a journey in itself. Really tapping back into who you are as a woman. And you have to do all of that before you can find your voice. For me, my voice was completely tampered. I couldn't speak up for myself. I didn't know what I wanted. I couldn't even give you an opinion. Right. There was a while where BJ's like, do you have an opinion about anything? And I was so closed off that I didn't even know what my opinions were.
Right. And there's so much fear because, again, without even knowing in that situation, what that's bringing up for you is that little girl who feels like, I can't speak up because what if I make my dad mad and then he's gone? Or that's disconnected. If I do that same thing to you in our marriage and you don't like what I say, are you just going to be gone? You don't know that all of that stuff is there and inside of you and it's going through your head and all throughout your body.
Yeah.
So you get kind of tongue-tied in those moments because there's all of this going on subconsciously that we are not aware of. That's why stuff is so much deeper. So when people say what do you want? Or just speak up, or it is like, hold up here. Gotta do some unlearning. And then you kind of dipping your toes into that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I need to feel emotionally safe and regulated to even dip my toe into speaking up for myself, then to come in here and be like, okay, now I've healed this and I can use my voice. And then you bring your toe back out like, nope. Until where you kind of getting into the pool where if you don't just dive in, you slowly wading in and then you splashing water up your leg. Like, okay, you're getting used to it. I'm getting used to it. Where eventually, okay, the water feels okay. And that's, I mean, honestly, what
it takes a lot of practice.
It does.
And it takes a lot of testing. And I remember starting to speak up for myself a little bit and being like, I just put something out there. What's going to happen now?
Am I still safe? Am I still safe? Are they still here?
And I would test this mostly with my husband. He was my guinea pig. He's still my guinea pig. But him being such an outspoken person, he never hesitates to give his opinion about anything, even very controversial things.
Yeah.
And he's all honesty all the time. And so it was this dynamic of he doesn't understand why I wouldn't be able to just say what I want to say. What's on your mind? What are you thinking? Are you mad at me? What's happening? And for me, I was like, what if what I say really offends this person or really hurts this person? And the whole idea that would be theirs to deal with was the most foreign concept to me I had ever heard. I'm like, but those are my words. And look at what I did to that other person. Yeah. Right. And so that's been my approach. That was my approach for 4 decades.
Yeah.
And so when I first started speaking up for myself, and I was always prepared for okay, I could, this could not land well. I could hurt this person. Right. But the more you understand and the more you work through, that's on them to see how they receive that and to contemplate, what they want to do with that information. That was otherworldly to me.
It is.
And I will say, as you're practicing, you don't always get it right.
No.
Or
Sure
even
don't.
part of the time. I mean, this will be a journey for a long time yet. Still practicing how to use the words I have in a way that is the other person can receive and hear.
Well, right. Because you
Right?
can have an open throat chakra, like healed that. I've opened that because you did that in Sedona. We got to talk about what she chucked a rock and then gave this like speech on the mountain. But you have to be careful of, okay, I've opened it up,
Mhm.
but is my ego speaking for me or is this coming through my heart space?
Mhm.
And we've both been caught in that. Where it's like,
Oh, yeah.
delivery was a little sharp there. And I've said that to Arya a million times. Like, Arya, Arlo does not receive what you have to say if it comes from that voice and that tone.
Mhm.
What you said isn't wrong, but
Right.
how you delivered it. If it would have come from your heart space, he would have been able to receive it.
Mhm.
So we think about that. If I'm trying to relay something to someone and I want them to receive it, I have to check in with myself first. Am I regulated enough to deliver this message in a way they can receive it? Otherwise, it's pointless.
Mhm.
And yeah, I might offend them and I might hurt them, and the whole point might have been missed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more you practice checking in with yourself,
Yeah.
and the easier it gets.
Yeah.
And the faster you can see when you're being triggered.
Yeah.
And you can be like, oh, wow, I'm having a really strong reaction right now. Right. And the faster you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is coming from somewhere, something is happening, and you can process through it and you can think through it and you can get to a point of being regulated where you can speak. But that's a lifelong journey to manage that in a way where you can do it effectively, efficiently all the time. Right. And so, yeah, as you're learning your voice, it's coming from a place of emotion, which is never going to be a good way to present something. So I got myself in situations all the time where I still do all the time where I'm like, oh, I should have stepped back for a second. Even though I'm speaking up for myself and asking for what I want or what I need, that is not how you do that. Right. And fortunately, my family is very patient with me as I've learned that, and I can quickly repair now.
Yes, that's the other part is you're going to mess up and that's okay, but learn how to repair.
Learn how to repair.
Take
And
ownership of it.
and I can immediately be like, oh, sorry. That was my ego. My ego just came in there and was like, hey, this is what we want right now. And we're going to let you know it. I can quickly be like, that is not my intention. I apologize. And so, but again, that's all part of the journey. You don't start out like that. You have to continue to do the work and you have to continue practicing. It's a constant intentional practice. Just like you would practice yoga or practice anything else. You have to practice using your voice in a way that is effective and continuously reminding yourself to speak up for what you want and using it in a way that it helps you get there, right? Is not counterproductive and is respectful to the people that you're speaking to.
Well, I think that repair part is so important, whether it's especially with our kids, we have to repair because otherwise their ego will create that same story that you did around your grandma. It could be anything like, oh, well, I don't want to upset mom. So I don't ever want my kids walking on eggshells around me. And Ari and I had to do some repair because she was very much on that trajectory, being a people pleaser. I was like, hold up. No, like I need to sit with this thing, but that repair is so important, even as an adult, to be like, come back and say, if you snapped at a coworker and to let them know that, because then it gives other people permission to mess up and to know, like we all want that compassion because everyone's inner child wants to be able to make mistakes and still wants to be loved through that and to understand that.
Yeah. I have definitely noticed the effect with my relationship with my children. I mean, previous to venturing down this journey, I'm quick to yell, right? I'm repeating patterns, and yelling was a big part of my growing up. There's lots of big yelling, scary yelling. And I was very quick to have that same reaction. Our kids will immediately trigger the things in us, right? They are like, hey, look at this. It's you, right?
Hey, mom, guess what?
Yeah. So venturing into this journey and being able to get in touch with my own emotions and acknowledge them and process them and then vocalize to other people, I've been able to break that pattern. All right. I've been able to, do I yell sometimes? Absolutely. Yes, that happens. But I'm also navigating new relationships with them in a way where we can actually have a conversation. And I have one child who's very empathetic, right? He feels all the things all the time. It's much easier for me to relate to him. And he is very open with his feelings, and it's amazing. I have another child who's the opposite, and he's very stubborn and he is very vocal, and he is very black and white. He is his mother's child a little bit, which is probably why we struggle a little bit more. But even then, I can see him now being willing to open up and talk about things when he's ready. It has to be on their terms, right? I'm always like, talk to me, buddy, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he's a preteen, right? He's about to turn 12. So he's like, I'm not interested in talking to you. He doesn't say it like that.
Yeah.
But then there will be random moments where he just needs to get stuff off his chest. And he also is getting very quick to come back and repair.
Yeah.
If I give him space, he'll come back later and he'll find me. He'll be like, Mom, I'm sorry. I got too mad about that. I just need a little time to myself.
I was like, right, because you modeled that. You showed them. They saw you do that, and now they know how to do that. That comes from you and your work. That's powerful.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something right.
Something. Absolutely.
Once in a while, you feel like you're doing something right.
Yeah. It's so funny. The other night, Arlo got upset. Aria and him were picking at each other. And I said to him as we were going to bed, I'm like, Arlo, just want to say, I love how you just let yourself feel your feelings. And this kid, he goes, what else are you supposed to do with them? And I'm like, you're right.
You're right.
You're right, dude. You should feel your feelings. But you know how many adults don't? When they feel sad, they shove it down. When they feel angry, they hide it. I mean, you allow yourself to feel them, to express them, and to move through them. And I just want to say I love to see you do that, even though sometimes it's like, okay, like I gotta regulate myself while he does that, right? But I just wanted to encourage him to continue to express. You know, he'll let Arya know when she makes him sad. I don't want him to ever hide that because he loves Arya. He puts Arya up on a pedestal. So he could box that up real easy.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I love how you feel your feelings. What else are you supposed to do? What else are you going to do? He's that example of, I don't want to say like, if you do this right, kind of, there's no right way to do it, right? But if you can like lay this foundation where they can come and talk to you, where they can quickly repair, where they can sit and process all those things. It was like, like he just gets it. There isn't starting to get complicated with feelings. And obviously he's going to be 7, but still like he's going to be 7 and gets this.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. That's huge. I think part of the motivation for me, and there's lots of motivations for me working through this journey, but part of it was as my kids got older, seeing the relationship that was developing between us and the dynamic that was developing and being able to acknowledge it and being like, oh, that's not how I want this to look.
Yeah.
And they're young enough now where I can still mold that rather than when they get to like 15, 16 and they hate me and they hate themselves and it's this whole thing, right? I fully understood that had to come from within. If you have a relationship with your kids that is not okay, or you don't like the relationship dynamic that you have with your children, you need to go internal.
They're showing you something.
Right. They are, I mean, it's cliche, but they are absolutely our mirror, right? And so you cannot fix that dynamic until you look at yourself. And that's going to be hard and scary. But guess what? That's what has to happen if you want to fix that.
Right. Well, you always hear that, like, I'd do anything for my kids, or I'd die for my kids. Would you heal for them? Would you go within and look at your stuff for them?
Right.
Because if not, you're absolutely passing down all of those things.
Yeah.
And it's going to show up in a different form in their life. I mean, you've seen those reels where it shows the generational trauma, you know, from the grandmothers from the Depression, and then how that looked for her. But then when she passed it down, it looked a little different for the grandmother. Then it looked a little different for the mother and then the daughter. And it was like, whoa. It's no wonder there's so many of us where we relate, because we're all kind of on that same journey. There's no joke. This is a collective thing that is happening. And so when we talk about conditioning and all of those things, that's real. And so having conversations like this, so other people, other women feel seen in it. Yeah, I was this high achieving female too. That's where that's from, because you're starting to feel the burnout. I can't keep going at this pace. I'm not the present mom I want to be or whatever, but you can't get out of that cycle because those wounds are still very much open and still very much hurting.
I do think we're in a time and a space where there are a lot of women realizing that just because I can do everything doesn't mean I should do everything, right? And I think a lot of us were raised at a time where it was like, we might have been the first generation of women in our family to go to college, right? And that was now an opportunity for us. And maybe there was now finances available to make that happen. And so that was what you went after. And it was this whole shift in dynamic. But now we're at an age and we have families and we have careers and we're like, yeah, but I'm really fucking tired. I just need a rest or I need something else. And now we're like, I don't want to blow everything up. I love my life.
Right.
But also, this can't be how we function.
Right.
It cannot be. It's too much. Our mental health is deteriorating.
Well, that's just it. It's like something's got to give, and it's usually us. It's our physical health. It's our mental health. But yet we're trying to keep the plate spinning at work and at home with the kids. But yet ourselves, our soul, our bodies are taking the hit day after day after day.
Talk about getting out of mind and into heart. That's where we operate all the time. Is just like, what do I have to get done? What does today look like? Who needs to be where doing what? What presentation do I need to do for work? We have amazingly high functioning women who have stepped into the role of taking on everything and have completely abandoned themselves and don't know what is even missing.
Right.
But they have this like, this can't be right. I shouldn't be feeling like this. And then you get this whole gratitude movement, which I'm grateful for everything in my life. Very high on gratitude. I write gratitude every day in my journal. But I think the flip side of the gratitude coin is desire. Right? You can be grateful for the life you have.
Yes.
And you can still desire something else. Right?
Yes. Amen.
Like,
amen to that. I'll drop this mic here.
Women are unwilling to speak up for the desire side of that coin. And they're continuously told like, oh, be grateful for what you have, Tami. Look at the amazing life you have, right? And especially previous generations, they're like, oh, I had to do this, live this other life. Look at everything that you have. You have this amazing career. You have these great kids. All true. Yeah. Super grateful for those things. Yeah. But you can also desire more for yourself in terms of self-fulfillment. And I think that usually takes the form of taking care of yourself. Yeah. Because you've completely emptied that bucket. Yeah. There's nothing left in it. Right. And so, yeah, you can do all the things. I know a lot of amazing women, personally, professionally, family, who can show up and execute and manage things in an amazing way. But that's where it comes back to like, what do you want? And they're like, huh?
What? Never thought about me.
Right. And so it really takes a journey like this, getting out of mind and into heart and going back and being like, what do I want? But before you can answer that, you're like, who am I?
Right.
A couple of years ago, when you asked me those questions, I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm a mom. And I have an amazing career I've worked so hard at. I have this awesome husband. I take care of our house. I like all the things.
Not
right?
you,
check.
Sarah, without all those
Who
things.
is Sarah without all of those things? In the past few years, I've learned Sarah's a really creative soul.
Yes.
She's a very caring soul. She deserves to receive.
Yeah.
Ooh. She deserves to take care of herself. Her mind is worth it. Her body is worth it. She is worth it. And she shows up better in her life when she does those things. Mm-hmm. And she is no longer concerned with what other people perceive her to be. Right? Which is what probably kept me off the podcast for a year was, what is everybody gonna, do? But also I know that that's not who I am anymore. And that was an excuse. Yeah. And so
that was an old story. That was no longer. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So now I'm able to bring those things into my workplace and into my family. And I work in a super masculine environment, right? Well, the company I work for now has a ton of women, but traditionally my industry has been very masculine, where I'm the only woman in the room. Mm-hmm. And to show up in that space and that energy all the time, it's exhausting.
Well, it fit your childhood wounds perfectly.
It sure did. It did.
How can I thrive in an environment in that energy, proving my worth, showing that I'm capable and worthy of being here too. All that validation. Yeah.
I remember this memory came back very recently. I don't know why. I haven't thought about it in a really long time, but I remember the first year of my professional career. I was 25 in a male setting, a lot of senior people around me. And there was a client that wanted me to work on all the projects. And granted, like, I do a great job. I'm like, I can show up. But I remember one of the senior partners calling me into his office, and I was like, hey, how can I better serve this client? You know, obviously they want me more engaged. And I remember him telling me, and the client was an older male. It's like, well, they want you on all your projects because you're a beautiful 25-year-old. And I was like, ooh, there's a lot of messages in that one line.
Ooh, yeah.
Right. And so it was a quick lesson around, as long as you show up, perform in a certain way, you're secure, right? There were so many different thoughts around that, but it validated the external, be pleasant, show up, do a good job. And if men approve of you, then you will continue to grow, right? I had a more recent situation that was kind of a bomb that you helped me through, where I think I got the first negative feedback of my entire career not that long ago. And it was earth-shattering to me at the time, because I've never gotten a negative comment about anything in my life. Like, I will show up and I will do it to 200% and it will be amazing. I will make sure it's amazing, because God forbid anybody not think that I cannot do it amazingly, right? And I not show up. And so I received some negative feedback from a senior male member of my team, and I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I was really distraught by it. And you helped me navigate that in a way that was like, okay, but then what? You're okay. Let's talk through this. And it isn't life-shattering. It actually had more to do with him than it had anything to do with me, but I was absorbing it because it was like he was taking it, projecting those things onto me, right? And so it was very much a healing moment in my journey.
Yeah.
Where I was like, fuck this guy. That actually isn't accurate of me at all. So those moments will show up in your journey too, where the universe will push you.
Right. I've done this work. I know who I am. And then you'll get that little like, are you sure?
Yeah. Are you sure?
Are you sure about that?
Let's see how you handle this one.
I mean, I mentioned that on the podcast a couple weeks ago, even with the gym. Do you feel worthy of this? Do you? Because right when we went live, like all this stuff came up, and it's still, the weeds are popping up and I have to quickly tend to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see women all around me. I mean, I'm surrounded by amazing women, and I see them people pleasing and trying to prove their worth, not operating in a way that shows that they believe in their own worth, and making decisions that are just inconsistent with who I know they are as a person. And it's just become so apparent to me that there's a lot of women really struggling with this whole notion of being in touch with self and intuition and feminine identity. And we show up and we get in that masculine energy and we will execute all day long and we will prove ourselves all day long. We have no problem doing that. But I think we have, and this is obviously oversimplifying and generic observations, but I think we have a generation of women who are completely disconnected from themselves.
Right. Especially from the feminine aspect of themselves. Like realizing we have both and we need to be able to learn how to operate both. There are times when you need to be in your masculine energy. You need to get shit done.
Absolutely.
But that balance has been completely distorted from that ability to just be and to allow ourselves to receive. Like, and to just feel and be that emotional vessel, that creative vessel that we have. There's so much power in that. And I remember saying that to you, like, what you have done, it's almost like being on one leg, like just operating on your masculine energy, the things that you have been able to accomplish. Imagine if you came in as a whole ass person with all this energy, all the energy that we have in our feminine. We were just like, we, for some reason, feel like that would be a disadvantage. No, those two together, holy hell. If you've been this accomplished with just one aspect of yourself, imagine if you were fully integrated. Holy crap. And that's where, even with this new venture, I've had to make sure, how do I maintain this other aspect of me? Because being in the gym, that is very masculine. There is a lot of things you got to do. You're training, you're lifting weights and all those things. And well, there's this other part of me. How do I make sure I'm continuing to weave in that so I don't feel like I'm living this separate life? because I want to be fully integrated. And if this is a huge part of my life, how do I integrate these other parts of me and honor these other parts of me?
I think it was the second time we were in Sedona. We added the hike that was like the feminine power hike.
I remember that. The birthing cave.
The birthing cave.
That was freaking powerful. It was literally vibrating.
It was
energy.
life-changing.
Like,
it was life-changing.
Yeah.
Both of the Sedona trips have been life-changing moments. When I look back on my journey, each of those will be pivotal things. We added a hike, basically a second-day hike that was more focused on who you are as a woman.
Yeah.
And we ventured out to this, what's called the birthing cave. And hopefully you've heard about it in the Sedona stories, but it was all about who have you been as a woman up until this point, right? Have you lived in your authentic feminine power, or how have you shown up as a woman? And then doing a meditation in the cave and stepping out of the cave, stepping into that feminine energy and who you want to be as a woman is showing up in your life as that woman, right? How many of us show up, but not necessarily in a way that, if we had to think about it, is how we would authentically want to show up. And I remember that hike was the first time I really contemplated, women are so fucking powerful.
Yeah.
Our innate energy and wisdom, and it's just all so, I don't even have the words to describe it. It's overwhelming. And that was the first time I was really able to tap into that and being like, I don't need to show up in a man's world and try to compete with a man. I'm really fucking tired. I'm sorry. Now I'm getting really passionate. You hear all the F words dropping?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to show up.
This is the right podcast for that.
I know I am. I don't need to show up in a man's world trying to be a man. I don't even need to show up in my home trying to like do all the things that I want a man to do. My husband, he stepped back.
Yeah.
As the masculine, he's very masculine, but he stepped back because I was bringing so much masculine energy into the relationship. And that's not what initially drew me to him.
Right.
I don't want him to be that.
Yeah.
But high functioning women who step into their world and escalate like that cause their men to step back.
Yeah. And then we resent that.
And then we resent that, which I am working through and I've acknowledged, but they step back because you take over. I bet there's a million women out there listening. I hope you have a million followers who can understand this. Why aren't you showing up for me? If you loved me, you would take care of half of this stuff, right? But you have put him in a position where he can't show up for you. He doesn't know how, because every time he tries, you overtake the situation or you correct him.
Right. Yeah.
Which BJ reminds me all the time. He's like, I'm going to do this my way now. And if you aren't okay with that, I'm just not going to do it. I'm like, I understand. And the notion that somebody else should do something, but in a way that is not how I would do it, I'm like, but why would you do it that way? That doesn't even make sense. But now I'm like, okay,
I can let this go.
Right. Get over yourself, right?
This is one more thing I do not need to carry. I can pass
this
offhand.
Anyway, I've gone on a couple of tangents.
I love this.
But the point is, you don't have to show up in this world in a way that competes with the men around you.
Right.
Women, and I would say more than ever in the last several decades, we need to show up as powerful women and bring that energy to the table. And I've tried to work in my workplace with my team and the people around me to really try to shift that perspective a little bit. And for the women around me to encourage them to tap into their own self-worth and not be so worried about, the feedback they're receiving externally all the time and how they're showing up in those relationships. But if we can, as a generation, like figure out how to tap back into that feminine power and energy and bring that to the table, game changer.
Game changer.
And I admire women who do that. I look up to the women who have tapped into that. And granted, you don't have to let go of all those other things, right? I don't have to let go of all the skills and all the value I provide and all those things. It's not about changing who you are.
Right.
It's about balancing a little bit, because that's where you're going to find the peace.
Yeah.
Like when I think back where I was 5-10 years ago, when my maternal grandmother was passing, that was a big pivotal shift for me. And when I think back to where I was mentally at that time and how I perceived the world and how I perceived my relationships and the anxiety I caused myself around that, and I think about where I am now, there's so much more peace.
Yeah.
And isn't that the goal? Yeah. Isn't the goal to have peace within ourselves and not worry about everything and not have anxiety about everything? And to me, That's the definition of success.
Yes. Ooh,
Wait.
nice full circle moment
Hey.
there. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we can get to a place of peace within ourselves so that we can have peace with the people around us that we care most about, I think that it has to be balanced.
Yeah.
We can't keep operating in this space of, I will do all the things all the time very well.
Right. There was an episode I did with Stephanie a few months ago, and she's like a career coach, and she was talking about that ball back in the 80s and the early 90s that you would stand on. It looks like Saturn, the planet.
Yeah. We had one of those.
Balance on it.
Yep.
It's kind of like that. You're balancing on the ball, but it's going to pivot and it's going to turn, and then you're going to be in your masculine energy sometimes, and then you got to be back in your feminine, but you're always still balancing. It's still grounded on that ball because we have to be able to be both. And that's why I love when you had mentioned, okay, I did this big thing at work, and then I was outside and I was just allowing myself to be. Like that's, again, some of that balance. Like I know when I need to show up in that energy and when I need to refuel and recharge and just be in my feminine.
I have discovered nature.
Oh,
I know you say this all the time, right? We should have a flag that is like nature, yay. But
it's like the little turtle from Robin Hood. Yay, Dad. That's my favorite. I don't know why. I've always been obsessed with the little turtle. Yeah. Yay, nature.
That's awesome.
It's my new logo.
Should be. But it's true that for me to get out of my head and really tap in, I have to be outside.
Yep.
I have to be quiet. I have to listen.
Yep.
I have to be grounded. I have to just step away and get back to just earth. And that helps just drain all of that energy away.
And that's a real thing. That's not
Absolutely.
just you like that. Like actually,
it's a real thing. That's called grounding.
It's called grounding. There's science behind it.
That's why these like grounding mats and stuff, I get them. But also, I don't want that. I want
there's
my feet on the earth.
Groundings when I sit at my computer. Like, have that. I don't notice the benefits nearly as much as when I'm outside, because then you get the sunlight and you get the fresh air, and there's so many clearing and cleansing properties, but it's also truly connecting to Mother Earth and feeling that transmutation of energy. It's powerful. And when people say like, I don't have time, you better make time. It's going to make the rest of your life and everything else you do flow so much better.
Yeah. So when I got back from California this week, it was intense. The whole time I was gone it was intense. I had to get out. I spent several hours just out, quiet by myself. It's just necessary. And that's one of the reasons I think when we're talking about how do you realistically move through this journey and what are the ways that you can reconnect with yourself, I think nature's a big part of that. And I think that's part of why another part of that is connecting with other women for me. That's why the Sedona retreats you've done have been so instrumental, because it does both of those things at one time, right? You get a year's worth of interflection. Is that the word? Interflection? I don't know. In such a short amount of time, but it's out in nature. It's connected with other women who are trying to do the same thing. And it's just, from my perspective, really important to actually being able to quiet the mind. For me, it's like, where can I get quiet? Because nothing happens until you can get quiet with yourself.
Right.
When you can actually like tame down the brain, tame down everything that's flowing through there, get quiet and like listen and tap in. And nature just seems to be a necessary part of that.
It does.
So
and that's no coincidence. I think we were always meant to be plugged in that way, not plugged in with our devices and our things, plugged into Mother Earth and receive that kind of love, that kind of nurturing. And I remember when my leg was swollen, I think that was actually that same year that I met you. I had the massive.
You've had a couple of things.
I had a couple things.
There was a foot thing and a leg thing.
Episode on your physical health and how your emotions have shown up in that. So part 2 with Sarah.
Yeah.
But I specifically remember going down to the lake. Like I knew I was holding on. So my leg was swollen twice the size. And of course I'm like, what is the spiritual significance? And it was like holding on, afraid to let go. And that was so resonant with what was happening in my life. And I knew it. And I'm like, oh, damn it. So I went down to the lake and I sat there and I just had this moment where I'm like, Mother Nature has never abandoned me. She is always here to love me and nurture me. Every time I'm outside, I feel loved, I feel connected. And so in those moments where we are fearing rejection, we're fearing abandonment, we're needing that kind of love and nurturing. Like, I mean, again, we can't rely on that from other people in our lives. How can I give that to myself? Like, oh, I can go outside and I can always get that from Mother Nature. Like, oh, what a powerful reminder that energy is always there for us, ready for us to receive if we allow ourselves.
Right. I always think back on us howling at the moon. We had a group of women who howled at the full moon, and it was just like, oh, it was
very primal.
Very primal.
Oh, about that.
And also just screaming at the top of our lungs off the side of a mountain. Yeah. Right. Like, I know we've talked about hosting like a rage hike here within the past few months.
Speaking it into existence.
And so
right now,
I think it has to happen. And the first time I did that was when I was just starting to find my voice. And so I couldn't even initially get myself to a place to be able to scream. It was so locked up that you're like, just scream, just yell. And I'm like, I don't know how, or I can't. And so you have to really just like let go.
Yeah.
It forces you to let go. If you're at a place where you can't even scream in the middle of nowhere, there's nobody around.
Right.
It's literally just standing on the side of a cliff and screaming. If you're at a place where your voice is so blocked up that you can't make that happen, like, whew, that's a tough place to be, right? But it's also, I'm like, I can do this. This is just yelling. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, what's the big deal about that? You're holding on to so much.
Yeah.
And so it's a vehicle to just let go of a lot of stuff.
Which feels very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. And then you scream and you, for me and a number of people, women I was with, immediately break down in tears. Yeah. You have to sit down and you just have to sob to let out. You get the rage out. But then there's like this
more
hangover and this aftermath of like you immediately break down in tears because it's the first time that you've felt letting go of that anger or resentment or whatever it is that you're releasing that is so powerful. Yeah. And so when we host our rage hike, I think a lot of women will be introduced to the idea of you hold on to all of this.
Right. It's almost like the dam. Like we build this dam and we're afraid to release that because, again, you don't know what's behind it. You don't know how fast it's going to come. But when you release that, the shift in your energy, there's more. And oftentimes anger and rage, even I think for men, it's safer for them to feel that. For women, we bottle that up because we weren't supposed to be angry and mad and all those things as little girls. But there is sometimes a deep sadness behind that. Sure, I can be mad that my dad did this and made me feel that. But then there's also a sadness of, I didn't have that connection with my dad that I never actually felt seen. It's almost like the anger and rage is kind of covers that up, but you get to the real rawness of it. And that's where you got to get, because that's exactly what your inner child needs from you.
Yeah.
From you.
The anger is just a cover. It's a front for, you're angry about it, but that's not the root of it.
Yeah.
Right? The root is something different. And I think that's what comes after the yelling. You're right. It's the sadness of whatever the situation was, that anger was just a symptom or the, you know.
Well, that's why you being here now in front of a microphone and sharing this story is so huge, because when you think about feeling silenced as a little girl, you think about how often you have been now doing that to your inner child. And that's the whole point of this freaking podcast, is like all these things that we, my parents did this or my whatever. This is always trying to show us what we are denying ourselves of. And it's a real hard look in the mirror sometimes to be like, shit, like I'm not showing up for me. I'm not taking care of myself. I'll give my kids snacks, make sure they're hydrated all day long, but I never remember stuff for me. I tell my kids they need to get outside and play. Do I do that for me? Right. Just trying to help us tap back into that. But there becomes a sadness where it's like, why can't I do this for me? Oh, I must not feel worthy. Like, how do I do that? Yeah.
Maybe you get to a point where it's just natural and it comes automatically. I'm not to that point yet. I still have to very intentionally plan those things out, carve space for those things and remind myself and check in with myself and create little things throughout my day to make sure, because otherwise I can go days where I haven't checked in and I've just been autopilot.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, oh, why am I snapping at the kids? And why am I doing this? Oh, duh. Like,
Yep.
But the more I can make sure I'm weeding my garden and maintaining the things I want to grow and being in that space and that energy, the more it keeps showing up, right? It's when I don't, but it's practice. It comes back to like practicing nonstop.
Yeah. And it can come in phases and things too. I think about when this all started for me, it started with just needing to feel better. And then once that started, I started to feel worthy of feeling good. And so now when it comes to nutrition and working out, those things are automatic. I don't think twice about those. I'm going back to my parents, an hour and a half drive. Am I going to need a snack on the way there? I better get my water. It just happens. But there are other certain things where like, ooh, I need to keep working on that, especially when it comes to work stuff, career stuff, relationship stuff. Make sure you're not abandoning yourself, Tami. Make sure you're finding your voice there. So yeah, on that ball again. Like,
I just had a thought and then it literally just fell out of my head.
that happens. That happens.
Especially in your mid 40s.
Right? That's a whole other episode.
It's a whole different episode.
Part 3 was
Go through the perimenopause episode a totally different time.
Yeah. That is a real thing though. I mean,
oh, for sure. It was really good too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me.
if it was meant to, it will. All right. Real talk here. You know those moments where you shut down in meetings or you over apologize or you avoid hard conversations or you constantly feel like you're not enough no matter how much you achieve or how much you try? Yeah. That's not just a personality quirk. That's pattern behavior rooted in old survival strategies that you likely developed when you were just a kid. And that's exactly the work that I do through Unscripted Healing. Whether I'm working one-on-one with people or I'm leading workshops or training teams and organizations, I love to help people connect the dots between their past and their present so they can stop reacting from old wounds and start responding from a healed and grounded place. Because emotional wellness isn't just a buzzword. It is literally the foundation for how we lead and how we parent and how we show up at our jobs and in our relationships and how we treat ourselves. And I don't just teach this work, I live it. Just ask my kids. And I have done it and I have guided others through it. And now I'm creating spaces, including this new gym that we're opening up, where healing happens from the inside out. So if you are ready to do the work or bring this kind of deep, lasting change to your school or to your teams or to your organizations, head over to unscriptedhealingwi.com and let's rewrite these patterns and stories together. Okay, back to the episode.
Oh, I know what it was.
I'll place an ad there so it'll
Thank you.
survive.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I was just going to go back to the beginning when I was talking about how I found you was the weight loss journey, right? Gaining and losing 30 pounds over and over and over. And I mean, I know now food is my coping mechanism. Absolutely. Suppress feelings, eat food, numb out, feel better for a second, gain weight, realize you're not perfect anymore, and then make sure that you are perfectly losing the weight by not eating anything you shouldn't eat and working out every day and getting it off as fast as possible to fix it. Right. And I've finally gotten to a point where I am not super comfortable with where I am right now physically. I would prefer, because I just don't feel great all the time, but I refuse to go through that cycle again. I can now see what that was. I can acknowledge what I was doing, and that is not an option anymore. And so my journey now, this time, is very much learning the lesson, right? You always say, I haven't learned the lesson yet. I've learned the lesson. I know what that is. I have not gotten myself to a place where I am physically taking care of myself the way I want to be. I know I'll get there because this time I'm approaching it in a much different way where I'm going to love myself through it. And I'm going to love myself regardless of the situation I'm in. And I'm worthy of feeling good. Right. And I'm getting there, but I'm not going to rush it this time. I'm not going to fix anything. There's nothing wrong. And I know that this journey is going to be one that is taking care of myself in a way that is healthy and long-term and is guided and is patient. Right. And so I feel really good about getting to that place, even if I'm not quite where I want to be in terms of how I feel physically. Right. And I think that is so common. Women are, you're supposed to look a certain way. And
we base our worth on
we base so much worth on that. But if you can get to a place where you're like, no, I deserve to feel good. And in order to feel good, I need all these other things to feel good too.
Yeah.
It can't be a punishment.
Right.
It can't be pursuit of perfection, which I believe is, what I was doing every other cycle.
Yep,
And
yep.
so, but it's a much different place to approach that story from.
Right.
Right. And so it's definitely a part of my journey that I'm actively in right now, is like getting to that point where I'm like, no, I just want to show up for myself every day in this way because I'm worthy of that and because I want to feel good and I'm a better person when I feel good. Right. So,
and without doing this kind of work intuitively, I'm going to end up repeating that same cycle again. And I'm not here for that. I want long-term lasting change. And that's what everyone wants.
Oh, for
when
sure.
they start off on a health journey, we all say that.
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't want the quick fixes, but yet we do the things. And we forget that there is this little girl or boy that's screaming, I need you to tend to me. And
Yeah.
I want to get there too.
Right.
I want to feel that way too, but you can't forget about me. And we've got to heal this stuff.
Yeah.
Learn how to take care of ourselves in the process, come in and out of that and learn those little lessons that we need to along the way. But you're right. This journey is beautiful that you're on.
Yeah.
And you're right. Maybe it isn't the fast track, but I know it's getting me to that destination and that feels good because I'm not bypassing those things anymore.
But then all the other things that go along with that, right? Your physical canister is one thing and how you feel, like that is a big part of your mental health and whatnot. But look at all the other mental things and the health things I've addressed that are not your physical canister that are in such a better place mentally and holistically than I was back when I was chasing a number on a scale or, a certain size, right? There's so many pieces I've healed and feel really great about that I didn't even know was a part of it back then.
Right.
And so I have to work through all of those things first.
Yeah.
Or not first, but I haven't mastered all of it yet. It's okay. I'm no longer in the space of I have to be the best at everything and do all the things as fast as I can. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's exhausting. You know that, right? That's exhausting. You'll get there. Just keep taking one step towards what you want next. Full circle. Follow intuition. Your body and your heart and your soul will tell you if you just get quiet and listen.
It's interesting. I keep having this image come in my head as you're talking. And I see it as, and I talked about like being in a play and the whole setting and we play these characters and these roles. But I see it as like when we get started in this journey, there's like all of these characters on the stage, right? It's loud. There's stuff going on. And kind of like Moulin Rouge, if anyone's ever seen that movie, it's chaotic at the beginning. You're like, whoa, I almost had to turn it off because I feel like I was having a seizure watching it. It was just like, whoa. That's kind of what our life is like. And if we slowly but surely start casting off that people pleaser, they get to be in the backstage. And again, we never have to banish them, cast them off, but almost to a point where I would see that scene and then I would see the scene of just one person, dark stage, you with a mic, and it doesn't even matter if anyone's in the audience applauding. It's like just to come from that to this, just to be with yourself, to sit with yourself, knowing your voice matters, whether there's anyone out in the audience or not, knowing that what I have to say is important for me. My story is worthy. I am worthy. And all I need is just me. Just me. I don't need the costumes. I don't need the masks. I don't need the supporting cast. Just me.
But also the transition from the first scene to the second scene gets real lonely.
It does. Oof, it does.
When you work through this journey and you're diving into self, but then also diving into your relationships and understanding the dynamics of all the different things, people fall away. And part of it is just space that you need, I think, to reconnect with yourself, right? Some of those relationships come back in different ways, but you handle them differently because you see them differently. But the transition to get from the stage full of people to you by yourself, and people fall away and you're like, but wait, I need that validation. But wait, I need that person with me to do X, Y, and Z. But wait, this person serves this purpose. I need them. And then all of a sudden they're not there. And you're like, oh, this is scary, right? This is a really lonely place to be. I don't know where to turn because I don't know who. But then you're like, doesn't matter where you turn. You shouldn't have to turn. You shouldn't be looking for anybody else.
Right.
That's when you are like, oh, wait, it's me. And they will come back at different, some of them won't.
Right.
And that's okay. Because if you re-enter those relationships, you're a different person at that point. Right. And so you can show up in a different way. And you change that dynamic for the positive.
Right. I love this because I'm thinking of characters, all of these actors and actresses and stuff that are on the stage. They absolutely be people in your life, but they're also the parts of you.
Oh, yeah.
So when you start removing these people fall away, right? But then you're trying to not be that people pleaser anymore. And all of a sudden that becomes real vulnerable. You lose a sense of identity. Like, well, I'm the one who takes care of everyone. Who am I if I'm not that? And all of a sudden you feel like away of this thing that made you seen and appreciated by people. And it feels really lonely in yourself for a while. Like, even, am I enough? Just me? If I'm not serving, if I'm not doing, if I'm not achieving. And yeah, you're sitting in that, just you yourself. No people to tell you that. These other parts not out there trying to.
And when you start to change, the people who benefit from who you were all of a sudden have a much different reaction to you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's a scary place to be. You have to really feel strong enough in your journey and where you're going and keep dipping that toe in the water a little further, even though you might be getting negative feedback. Because when you're no longer serving the purpose that you served previously in that relationship, that dynamic shifts. And if those people were getting something from you before that they're no longer getting from you, they don't like that very much. And so you have to be like, good.
Yeah.
Be like, no, I'm good, actually. Either this won't serve me anymore, or this person needs to meet me where I'm at in a way where we can keep building this together, right? But
and that happened to me recently. Actually, it was literally after I recorded that episode with Stephanie, and we were talking about that exact thing, about how some people fall away in your life. And I received a message that I was like, oh, and I remember reading this, like something in the past that would have absolutely destroyed me and wrecked me and had me question everything about who I am as a person. And that was a very defining moment in my healing journey when I could read that and know, I know who I am. And I knew I could have counteracted all of these things and come back with this and said this and done that.
But that's your ego.
Right. Yeah. I didn't need to. I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to respond that way. I could just respond with basically love and compassion and gratitude for what was, bless and release, because I know who I am. And I can never change someone else's perception of me through the lens of their own wounds and their own journey, as long as I am grounded in who I am. And that was like, whoa. That was a huge moment for me. Not an easy one, but
for sure. But you can look back on it and understand that it was a pivotal part of your journey and your healing process to be faced with something that you'd have to be forced to work through and either revert back or keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about the people coming in and out, like sometimes certain people need to leave to bring in new energy. I moved out end of January 2023, and you showed up in my life.
So, January 2023 is when I reached out to you.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that.
No. Yeah.
And that turned into your first like coaching and the first, not coaching, but one-on-one thing. And
here you are 2 years later. Like,
you have to trust, right? You have to trust, which is why when this developed yesterday,
right,
when I've been pushing you, I've been like, no, Tami, not yet. I'm not ready. I had to trust that things are meant to happen when they're supposed to happen, how they're supposed to happen. And like, yes, okay, let's do it. Yeah. Now it must be the right time.
Must be.
But you have to trust. You have to give over control. And you have to just be like, yeah, now's the time, or no, it's not the time, based on, whatever's happening. But that also takes trusting yourself.
Yeah.
And I didn't trust myself with a lot of things, and I'm getting better. But again, practice.
Well, and it's funny too. And I think this is part of the healing journey, is you can absolutely express all of it, because you're like, okay, I know I need to probably say yes to this and all these things. The next message was, fuck.
Wait, you're talking about my message?
So she's like, not acknowledging ego's still there. Ego still wants to talk you out of it.
Absolutely.
But I'm also like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
You're so like, even in that moment, you were like doing the dance.
Oh, yeah.
Enough like, to where.
God, fuck, Tami. are we really going to do this? And actually, I have no problem talking about any of this stuff.
Right. No,
I am actually super passionate about all of this
Yeah.
stuff. It's just a place of like being comfortable, being vulnerable, right? And that historically, I have put walls up in the past to keep myself safe, and I'm super vulnerable with a core group of people.
Right.
But to like publicly be vulnerable is like me stepping into something new, me stepping into the next step of this, right? And me being willing to, and I love vulnerability, and that's how I connect with people. But being able to do that outside of the circle, right? And being like, okay, this is me, and people are going to watch it, and people are going to have reactions, and like, okay, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I wouldn't have been able to do this a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever it was. And so again, having enough trust in yourself, I've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I want to keep moving forward.
Yeah. I'm grounded in who I am. And yeah, whatever people have to say about the episode is for them.
Right.
For them to unpack. I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. You did it. Give her all the love, she doesn't need your validation.
I don't need your validation. I'm good.
But it's also a very nice cherry on top if something resonated. I always try to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for continuing to guide me, push me, support me, all the things. You're one of the biggest hype girls I have. And I love you so much. And I thank you because you have been a critical, you came in right when I needed you to come in, and you've been a guiding light for me. And so I couldn't have done this without you. And I cannot wait to see where we go moving forward. I think there's a lot of amazing things coming.
Yeah. Because of you very much. This was like Tami and Sarah, the first version. And I feel like now where you're at and where I'm at, there's some really cool and powerful things we can do to help women. So
yeah. Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that. I have a feeling you're going to be on here more. So once this all evolves, but we spoke it into existence.
We did. There's some fun stuff in development that I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah.
Because I think women need more of this.
Yes.
I mean, everybody needs more of this,
Everybody
right? But
needs that kind of liberation. But
I think women in particular are really have.
Oh, that's boys. Girl.
It's the montage. The cut video is going to be the montage of Tami singing whichever songs she can remember.
You should probably end this here. I like to go.
And we're out.
Oh, awesome. On that note, seriously, thank you so much. And this is a gift, being able to see you sitting behind the mic, stepping into your power, into your purpose. It's beautiful. Full circle moment, because I was literally sitting here doing that Zoom session with you over 2 years ago. So for you to be sitting there, I have all the feels, all the goosebumps. So I'm so grateful and blessed to have you in my life, because you are a grounding energy for me. Even though I've been helping you, you have no idea how much you've helped me step into my purpose, and knowing that I can support beautiful, empowering women like you is really cool. So yes, thank you. So on that note, we will wrap this up. If there's women in your life, send this, share this, like it, comment if there are things that resonated. Like, let us know so we can keep this conversation going, because obviously this is a conversation that so many more women need. And honestly, have our men here.
I mean, there's episode number 4. Like EJ and I could do a whole thing because the dynamic is crazy, right? We didn't even touch on any of that, but
that's happening someday too. So we got a whole list, a whole month of Sarah,
right? Nonstop. Just bring it.
All the good stuff. All right. On that note, do you have any parting words, like a thing, a saying?
Just keep tapping in.
Yeah.
Pull the thread. If your intuition if there's a thread there, pull on it.
Like a tampon. Sorry, I just ruined your moment.
Oh my God, that was so perfect. There's the mic drop. And we can't top that. So, Unscripted, folks. Now I have 2 logos, the turtle and a tampon. So there's that.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. I mean, like that. Yeah. So pull on it like a tampon.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to butcher that moment for you. And just to be able to have conversations like this and to laugh, just to freaking laugh. Women sometimes just need to laugh.
Amen. Oh my gosh.
about stupid shit like that. Okay. On that note, thank you, Sarah. And
Thank
again,
you.
thank you so much for your exchange of energy, pressing play, tuning in. We will see you all next week.